it to replace salt lost through sweat. And above all, we love sweet foods because sugar means energy. But if you think children have a sweet tooth, their craving for sugar is nothing compared to some animals, like the hummingbird. At the Southeastern Arizona Bird Observatory, they feed hummingbirds with sugar water.
Just because hummingbirds don't have teeth doesn't stop them from having a sugar craving. They're among the most sugar-hungry creatures on Earth.
So just how much do hummers love their sugar? Will they go for anything that looks vaguely like their feeding station? Hummingbirds are passionate about sugar water because they get most of the energy they need to survive from sugars. Hummingbirds consume half their weight in sugar every day. Even though we humans like sweet things, we can't match that. It would be like us eating 1,000 bars of chocolate. At the other extreme, there are animals with absolutely no interest in sweet things. Just eat meat. They get almost all of their energy from the fat and protein, so their tongues don't even register sweet tastes. So like all animals, the tastes we crave are determined by what we need. In our case, sweet and salty foods. But sour and bitter things might be poisonous. So, we need to tell these different tastes apart almost instantly. And we're equipped with tongues that can do just that.
I don't like it.
Our saliva dissolves morsels of food, releasing chemicals which travel down to the taste buds, which are buried in the surface of the tongue. When bitter or sweet chemicals land on the surface of taste-sensing cells, a bitter or a sweet signal is sent to the brain. Salty and sour chemicals are even smaller. They pass right through the walls of the taste-sensing cells. Once inside, they trigger a salty or a sour signal to the brain. But the same food can taste very different to different people. That's because some people are far more sensitive to tastes than others, which limits how far each of us can go with strong-tasting foods. There's a simple way to find out what you're made of.
We all live in different taste worlds. And we're going to find out a little bit about the taste world you live in by painting your tongue with this blue food coloring.
With this dye, the structures that hold the taste buds will stand out as pale dots against the dark background. The more dots, the more sensitive to taste. The most sensitive are called super tasters, and they can have 100 times more taste buds than other people. So is this man a super taster?
Okay, I can look at your tongue. You're a super taster.
Hey!
And let me ask you some questions about what you like. Do you like alcohol? Do you like bitter vegetables? Well, we know a little bit about why that is. You don't like alcohol because it's both bitter and burns your tongue more than it would that of a non-taster. And you don't like bitter vegetables because super tasters are particularly responsive to bitter.
About 1 in 4 people are super tasters. With their sensitive tongues, they tend to be much pickier about what they eat because things do genuinely taste different to them. So look at how differently a non-taster and then a super taster react to a bitter chemical. So each of us has a built-in limit to how strong tasting we like our food. As we grow up, we learn to become more and more adventurous, but it takes time. As we try things, we gradually discover that even though some foods taste bitter or sour, they're not actually poisonous. Gradually, we start to acquire a taste for all sorts of things that we once found disgusting. It's an astonishing transformation. We don't just tolerate things that we hated as children, we end up really, really loving them. As adults, we override our childhood reaction that bitter and sour are bad. It means that we can relish virtually anything. But for each of us, there's one ultimate limit. We've all done it. If you eat something that makes you sick, that puts you off that food, sometimes for life. Our reaction to foods that make us ill is a basic biological defense mechanism, and the effects can be extremely powerful. This footage of wolves eating a dead sheep was filmed in the 1980s by a team of American scientists. It's a startling experiment to test how sheep can be protected from attack by wolves. The scientists put a pill containing a mild poison into a piece of mutton wrapped in sheep hide. Within half an hour of eating the bait, the wolves start to vomit. Several days later, and a sheep is put into the pen with the wolves. After just one nip at the sheep, the wolves back off. For several months, these predators will now be turned off one of their favourite meals. It made them sick before, and they don't want to make the same mistake again. Just like the wolves, when we eat a strong-tasting food and then we're sick within a few hours, something remarkable happens.
The sight and the smell of the plate is enough to make me feel really very sick.
I actually feel quite uncomfortable and not particularly secure, sort of at the prospect of being close up to it.
A taste can be completely transformed, so a food we once liked now triggers deep feelings of disgust.
I just cannot touch it. It disgusts me. It makes me feel absolutely sick just thinking about it.
My brother, sister and I were presented with a plate of lentils each, and that was all we were getting.
I wanted to try some authentic crispy Chinese duck.
We'd drunk quite a lot of different drinks, as young men do, and finally I got ordered a half pint of this stuff.
I had a couple of forkfuls, and then I was allowed to leave the table to be sick.
That night, I had the most horrendous case of food poisoning.
And after a couple of sips, felt really nauseous, and had to make a swift exit for the outside.
Our brain fuses the memory of the food and being sick, so even getting close to it is now hard work. We're really adventurous with our sense of taste, but when we do come across something poisonous, we're programmed to steer clear of it.
My stomach is churning, and I'm quite pleased that I haven't had much to eat today so far.